Yo, what is up guys? Dubois here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are all doing well. If you're new here, if you could smash the subscribe button, it really helps me out. And also, if you guys could hit the like, it goes a long way in the YouTube algorithms. Anyway, enough of that nonsense. I wanted to make a video listing my top 5 prospects in the heavyweight division. Something I've been meaning to do for quite some time. As some of you guys know, I do a regular heavyweight prospect series on my channel. A few of these names you would have heard me talk about already, but I really just wanted to make a video where I rank the prospects, basically in terms of how far I expect them to go in the pro ranks. Now again, this is just my list. In 6 months' time, this list could well change, and if anybody you like didn't make this list, doesn't mean I don't rate them, and it certainly doesn't mean they can't go on to be great heavyweights. This is just my personal opinion as of the 24th of March 2020. Anyway, let's get into it. At number 5, I have the Ukrainian heavyweight prospect, Viktor Vikhurst. Now, Viktor Vikhurst is 27 years old, and he hails from Ukraine. He's 6'5", with a solid amateur background. In fact, he's a 2-time gold medalist in the European Amateur Championships and in the amateur ranks. You know, he's beaten the likes of Fraser Clark, for example. So, Viktor Vikhurst comes from a good amateur background, and technically, he looks pretty sound. Very good on the outside, a quick 1-2, good footwork, decent hand speed, looks to be a solid puncher, and he's still fairly young at 27 years old. You know, these heavyweights, they tend to mature a bit later, so he's got a fair bit of time on his side, and technically, I really like what I see from Viktor Vikhurst. For me, one of the more lesser known prospects in the heavyweight division, but a guy with a real high ceiling. I won't really go much further into it with Viktor Vikhurst, because recently I actually did a video on this guy in my heavyweight prospect series. By the way, as a professional, Viktor Vikhurst is only 1-0 with 1 knockout. He's literally just started his pro career, so he's really got a long way to go, but he's a guy I rate highly. Anyway, at number 5, we have Viktor Vikhurst. At number 4, we have the Russian heavyweight prospect, Arslanbek Makhmudov. Arslanbek Makhmudov is 10-0 with 10 knockouts. He's 30 years old, and he is listed as 6'5.5". Like most Russian fighters and Eastern European fighters in general, Arslanbek Makhmudov has a good solid amateur background. In the amateurs, for example, he actually beat Mohamed Majidov, which was a very good win. And even in the World Series of Boxing, he actually beat Mihai Nistor by knockout, and obviously Nistor in the amateurs knocked out Joshua, so Makhmudov comes from good amateur background, and that certainly stands him in good stead going into the pros. Stylistically, Makhmudov is what I would call an absolute wrecking ball. You know, he goes in there like a bull in the china shop, and he tries to take your head off. The guy has extremely good power in his right hand. He's got a good right cross and a lovely uppercut as well, and this guy basically just tries to impose his size and walk you down. And with that type of power, this guy will be a threat to many a heavyweight out there. Defensively, Makhmudov does need to tighten up, it has to be said. You know, he's very aggressive, and sometimes he comes forwards with his hands down, and also I would like to see him use that jab a bit more. His jab is actually really good when he uses it. His jab is more of an offensive weapon, it's like a power jab, but it's a really effective punch, and if Makhmudov could develop a high guard with a bit of defense, with that ramrod jab behind it, on top of the power he's got in his right hand, I believe Makhmudov could be a threat to anybody. You know, he really could. The guy's a wrecking ball, the guy hits extremely hard, and he'll be a problem. He'll be a problem providing he gets the right fights, the right training, and the right development. But I would certainly suggest that you guys keep an eye out for Arslanbek Makhmudov. Certainly one of the harder punching prospects in the heavyweight division right now. Who knows, maybe he is the hardest punching prospect in the division. He does hit that hard, and you should certainly check him out. Anyway, at number 3, we have Perkovic. Now, some of you may think this is too low for Perkovic. A lot of people rate Perkovic as the #1 prospect in the division. I certainly rate him extremely highly. As we know, Filip Perkovic hails from Croatia, 27 years old. He is listed as 6'6", and as a pro, he is 10-0 with 8 knockouts. Perkovic also has good amateur background. He was the super heavyweight bronze medalist at the Rio 2016 Olympic Games. I thought he was very unlucky in losing to Tony Yoka. In fact, I felt he clearly won that fight. Filip Perkovic was also a former European amateur champion as well. He won the gold medal in 2015. So Perkovic has that amateur background, he has the size, he has the reach, and stylistically, he's a little reminiscent of Vitaly Klitschko. He kind of likes to lean back, pour out the jab, and he'll try and find that right hand behind it. I don't think he's as athletic as Vitaly Klitschko, to be honest. Not as light on his feet, and he doesn't have a punch volume, but stylistically I do see some similarities there. The jab is good when it's on point, and that right hand when he connects clearly carries some type of power. I do think Perkovic needs to relax a bit more as a pro. There's been a couple of fights where he looks a little uninspired, like the Eric Molina fight for example, and also the Sean Turner fight. But on the other hand, he has had fights where he's looked pretty good, like the Amir Mansour fight when he kind of blitzed him very early on. So Perkovic, as a pro so far, he's kind of blown hot and cold. And to be quite frank, I have expected a little bit more from Filip Perkovic, only because I rate him so highly. I rated him as an amateur, and he was the guy who I was most looking forward to in turning pro after the Rio 2016 Olympic Games. But so far, he's not quite stepped up the level of competition like I was expecting him to do. So in the next few fights, I want to see a few step-ups. But, you know, the guy's got a lot of tools. Like I said, he's extremely tall at 6'6". He's got good reach. He's still fairly athletic for a man of his size. He's got a nice jab with nice feet, and he's got a good understanding of keeping range. I do expect Perkovic to go a long way. I really wouldn't be surprised if the guy picks up a belt in the future, but I'm not quite as sold as I was when he first turned pro, I have to be honest. But still, Filip Perkovic, an excellent prospect in the heavyweight division. You should be keeping an eye out for him. At number 3, Filip Perkovic. Number 2, we have the British prospect, Daniel Dubois. Now, Daniel Dubois is 22 years old. He is listed as 6'5", and as a pro, he's got a record of 14 wins and no defeats. 13 of those 14 wins coming by way of knockout. Now, unlike everybody else on this list, Dubois actually doesn't have a great amateur background. I believe as a senior, as an adult, he only fought twice as an amateur, something like that. So he doesn't have the amateur experience that everybody else on this list has. However, I think the guy is a great raw talent. He clearly has power in both hands, and since his pro debut, I think Daniel Dubois has improved. I think Dubois is showing better variety in his punches these days. I like how sometimes he'll throw a combination, but he'll change levels. He'll dip down with a left hook to the body and come back upstairs. You know, he'll change levels. He'll try and keep you guessing with his offense. He's still a little predictable, but he's certainly improving in that regard. And like I say, physically, he's extremely strong and he clearly carries power. And of course, Daniel Dubois is only 22 years old. So this guy has a lot of room for improvement, and given by how much he's improved already as a pro, I think the guy could go a very long way. I really do. And he's actually stepping up very soon. In July, providing it happens, he is scheduled to fight Joe Joyce. Now that is a massive step up against obviously another prospect. So Dubois in his next fight is really dipping his toes in the deep end, and that fight will tell us a lot more about Daniel Dubois. I'm confident that Dubois wins that fight, but ultimately we will see when it happens. But I do rate Dubois. I think the guy's got a very high ceiling. I like how he's improved. I like how he stays dedicated to the game, and he's just got a great pro style. I really do believe Dubois is a very good prospect, and this is a guy who I wasn't sold on to begin with. Again, I'm not saying any of these guys are going to be world champions. These are the guys I just rate highly, you know, and Dubois is a guy I rate highly. He's number 2 on my heavyweight prospect list. And at number 1, we have the heavyweight that hails from Uzbekistan. His name is Bakodir Jalolov. Now this could be a controversial addition because Jalolov turned pro, he got to 6-0, and he then went back to the amateurs to try to get into the Olympic Games. However, he still had pro fights, and the guy does have ambition on returning to the pro game, so I'm going to include him on this list. Now Jalolov is a 6'7" southpaw with crushing power. On top of that, he's already got a very good amateur background. He was actually the 2019 World Amateur Champion, and also he won the bronze medal in 2015. So the guy's got, very good amateur pedigree, and at 25 years old, he's still got time on his side. For a guy of 6'7", he moves extremely well. He really does. His footwork is very good, and he uses that to keep range effectively. On top of using his feet, he obviously, at that size, uses a ramrod long jab, and he fights out of that southpaw stance, and if he lines you up for that straight left hand, it's good night. This guy really does have crushing power, excellent timing, and even his hands, for a guy of that size, are fairly quick. Athletically, this guy is very gifted, and technically, he looks like the real deal to me. He really does. This guy will be a problem when he comes back to the pro ranks, and I personally believe Bakodir Jalolov is the best prospect in heavyweight boxing. If you look at these countries like Uzbekistan, Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, a lot of good amateurs are coming out of that part of the world and are now turning pro in all weight classes. We recently saw Akhmadaliev becoming unified champion in 7 fights at super bantamweight. We see the likes of Israel Madrimov chasing titles in a handful of fights. There's a lot of talent coming from that part of the world, and these guys are turning pro and making waves. And I fully expect Bakodir Jalolov to be another one of those guys. I think this guy has extremely good potential. He's got the athleticism, he's got the power, he's a southpaw with great feet, good timing, good accuracy. This guy is going to be an absolute nightmare. He really is. I believe this guy has all you need to become a very good heavyweight. He really does. Hopefully, he will concentrate on being a pro soon. And again, I know it's probably controversial to put this guy on the list, but I rate him extremely highly, and I believe this guy is the best prospect in heavyweight boxing right now. So Bakodir Jalolov is my number 1 prospect. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Again, this is only my opinion as of today. 6 months time, my list could change. You could see different names. That's the nature of really discussing prospects, It is what it is. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you could smash the like, it would be much appreciated. And again, if you're new here, if you could hit the subscribe button, it really helps me out. Comment below, share your heavyweight prospects.